It really feels like the entire rulebook for business has just been thrown out the window, right? Well, guess what? It has. In a little over a decade, the world has shifted so much that the strategies that made you a winner back in 2010, yeah, today they're pretty much a roadmap to irrelevance. So let's break down exactly what's changed.
Okay, so picture this. On one side, you've got 2010. The world's just climbing out of the financial crisis, and the name of the game is all about access and efficiency. Businesses were jumping on cloud and mobile tech, to let their people get data from anywhere. It was all about globalization, saving a buck. Now, let's jump to 2026. The vibe is totally different. We're living in a world of, systemic uncertainty. The new motto isn't efficiency, it's autonomy and resilience. It's not about being global at all costs anymore. It's about building smart, regional systems that can actually take a punch.
So, the big question is, what on earth happened? What were the huge forces that drove this massive split, this great divergence between those two worlds?
All right, to get to the bottom of it, we're going to break this down into a few key parts. We'll look at the Great Divergence itself, then the jump from access to autonomy, how the workforce has totally changed, what the new corporate mandate looks like, and finally, how to navigate this whole new reality. Okay, first up, the Great Divergence. We're going to start with the 30,000-foot view. The huge economic and geopolitical shifts that basically laid the groundwork for everything else we're going to talk about. I mean, just look at this. The difference is night and day. Back in 2010, it was all about stabilizing after the crash. The philosophy was simple: hyper-globalization. And money? It was basically free, with interest rates near zero. Now, fast forward to where we're headed in 2026, we're living with constant uncertainty, a ton of geopolitical tension. The philosophy has totally flipped to regionalization. And because of that sticky inflation, interest rates are way, way higher. The entire foundation we built businesses on, it's just different now.
And if you want to see the real-world impact of that, here it is: global trade growth. I mean, this was the engine of the 2010s economy, right? It has absolutely slammed on the brakes. We've gone from a pretty healthy 4.5% growth every year down to less than 3%. That one number right there tells you everything. It's the end of an era, plain and simple.
All right, so the next piece of the puzzle, the second major driver here, is technology. And look, we're not just talking about faster computers or bigger screens. This is a fundamental shift. It's the difference between giving someone a map and giving them a self-driving car. We've moved from tools that support humans to systems that can actually act for them.
Think back to 2010. The big tech buzz was all about cloud and mobile. And the goal? Honestly, it seems kind of quaint now. It was just to let employees get their files from anywhere. The big win was flexibility. By 2026, that's table stakes. The new frontier is this incredible fusion of AI and the cloud. And the value isn't just access anymore, it's autonomous action. The whole goal is shifted from simply informing a human to enabling a system to execute a whole complex task all by itself.
And the tech that's making this leap possible is something called Agentic AI. Now, let's be super clear. This is not just a fancy chatbot. We are talking about autonomous agents that you can give a complex goal to, and they can then figure out the plan and execute all the steps to get it done, with minimal or even zero human handholding. This is a total game changer for what we thought AI could do.
And this quote from Scipio just nails it. By 2026, AI will shift from generating insight to orchestrating outcomes. Think of AI not as a dashboard assistant, but as an embedded decision maker. So what does that actually mean? It means AI is no longer just an analyst that shows you a pretty chart. It's now an operator, right there in the guts of your supply chain. So when a port suddenly shuts down, it doesn't just ping you an alert. No, it's already rerouting shipments, rescheduling all the deliveries, and updating everybody in the network autonomously.
But, of course, there's a flip side. A dark side, really. This exact same autonomy, the same power that can fix a broken supply chain, it can also be weaponized by cybercriminals. We are already starting to see AI-powered attacks that can scope out a target, find all the weak spots, and launch a full-blown campaign, all without a human hacker ever touching a keyboard. And all of this, naturally, brings us to the workforce. Because the rise of all this autonomy hasn't just changed our software, it's completely upended the very nature of work itself, where we do it, and maybe, most importantly, what skills are actually valuable anymore.
So first, let's talk about where we work. I mean, remember before the pandemic, working from home was this niche little perk for a lucky few. And now, It's a core part of the economy. By mid-2023, almost a third of all paid workdays in the U.S. were happening from home. Let that sink in. This isn't some temporary blip. It's a permanent, structural change.
Okay, but here's the twist that I don't think anyone really saw coming. For decades, the story was that automation was coming for manual, repetitive jobs, the factory floor. But now, the risk is completely flipped on its head. The World Economic Forum is estimating that 85 million jobs could be displaced by AI, and the jobs that are most at risk? They're cognitive, white-collar jobs, the ones we thought were safe.
So what does that mean for us, for people? It means that the skills that are becoming the most valuable are precisely the ones that AI can't do. As AI handles more of the routine brain work, it's things like adaptive thinking, true creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and, crucially, the ability to collaborate with the AI. Knowing how to prompt it, how to question its output, that's becoming the new currency in the job market.
So you take all of these massive changes in the economy, in our tech, in the workforce, and what you get is a brand new mandate for corporations. The old playbook of just focusing on shareholder value above all else, that's just not going to cut it anymore. This new world demands something fundamentally different.
Okay, let's start with customers. The bar has been set incredibly high. You know, that hyper-personalization stuff where companies use data to give you a perfectly tailored experience? That's not a nice-to-have anymore, it's the absolute minimum expectation. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. You can have the smartest personalization engine on the planet, but if your customers don't trust you with their data, it's worthless. In fact, it'll probably just backfire. Trust is the new bottleneck.
And you see this focus on trust mirrored in governance too. Back in 2010, accountability was all about financial transparency after the big meltdown. Think regulations like Dodd-Frank. But by 2026, wow, boards are trying to navigate an absolute minefield of conflicting ESG rules, these sprawling global data privacy laws like GDPR, and this totally new can of worms, algorithmic accountability. I mean, how do you even prove that your AI is making fair, unbiased decisions?
Okay, so we've laid it all out. The world has been totally restructured. The big question is, how does a business not just survive this, but actually thrive in this new reality? Well, it boils down to having a really clear strategic playbook.
And here it is, the 4 core mandates for 2026. Number 1, you have to embrace digital autonomy, but you've got to build the governance in from day one. Number 2, you've got to shift your thinking from just optimizing for cost to building genuine resilience. That means integrating risk management everywhere. 3, you need to blow up your old talent strategy and rebuild it around skills, not job titles, with a huge focus on that human-AI collaboration. And finally, number 4, stop thinking of trust and ethics as a boring compliance checklist. Start treating them as your single biggest competitive advantage.
And that last point is maybe the most important takeaway of all. This quote says it perfectly. Companies that treat data ethics as a competitive advantage will define market leadership. In this new world, market leadership isn't going to be about who has the flashiest algorithm. It's going to be about who has earned the most profound trust. Data ethics isn't a line item in your budget. It's a revenue engine.
Which really just leaves us with one last critical question to chew on. This divergence we've been talking about, it's real. And that gap between the old world and the new one is getting wider every single day. So you have to take a really hard look at your own organization, your own strategy, and ask yourself a very simple question. Is it built for the world that was, or is it built for the world that is?